Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about Imperial Assault as it begins to slowly kind of fade away. Are we possibly looking at a 2.0 in the not too distant future? That is the subject of today's video. I also do want to remind you guys there is still a few days left to enter to win the Black Series giveaway for the Star Wars Celebration exclusive Maul and Vader. All you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. Let me know what you think about the possibility of an Imperial 2.0, Imperial Assault 2.0, and what you would want that to do differently than the stuff that we have now. And that's kind of one of the things that I'm going to be talking about. I'll give you my ideas. I'd love to hear your ideas. We can all bounce ideas off of each other. Maybe somebody at FFG picks up some of these ideas and says, hey, that's a great idea. Probably not, though. They usually don't like unsolicited feedback. So, or at least unsolicited game ideas, I should say. With that being said, let's talk about this. So, something was brought up yesterday on Board Game Geek. It was slightly old news, but I do want to talk about it because it kind of resurfaced this idea that Asmodee in Germany has decided that they're going to discontinue the product for Imperial Assault, and this is a translated version of the article, but they're just basically saying, no more Imperial Assault in Germany. We're just not going to stock it anymore. We're not going to have any more news on it. We're not going to have any more expansions on it. We're basically done with that here. Now, this doesn't mean that they're stopping selling Imperial Assault. What this means is they're just stopping it in Germany. It doesn't mean that it's being stopped worldwide or anything like that. But this is just like one more nail in the coffin for Imperial Assault, because it has largely been, fading away for a long time now. We had thought it was dead all the way up until they announced the Thrawn expansion. Basically, as soon as Legion came out, everybody thought Imperial Assault was dead, but then we had one more wave of Imperial Assault, and then we're like, okay, is that it? And then, it's just been app updates, and then at Gen Con last year, they were asked about it, and they're just like, yeah, well, we'll app stuff. They kind of tiptoed around the question, and then at Adepticon, it was asked, and they had no answer at all. And now, finally, at Star Wars Celebration, one fan actually asked, point blank, "What else are you guys doing for Imperial Assault? Are you going to have any new product?" And they're like, "Well, we're not sure." I'm like, "Can you tell me right here and now that you will have some product again?" And they're like, "No, we have no plans to make any more future product for Imperial Assault at this time." Which kind of leaves the door open, and I was like, and I have talked about that after Star Wars Celebration, but then, this comes out as well, and it's just it's just one more step towards that slow, gradual decline of Imperial Assault. And usually, putting out articles like this, when you are not basically saying that a game has been sunsetted or end-of-lifed or finished or discontinued or however you want to word it, usually keeping the door open is done for a number of reasons. It could be that they want to leave the door open for for a future timeline, like maybe someday wanting to do a sequel trilogy Imperial Assault or something like that. But at the same time, it could just be for a second edition. So what would an Imperial Assault second edition need to look like to stay viable today? And I think this is a really good question. It's something that this could kind of be the beginning of a future discussion, because I think the game was awesome for so many reasons. It was a little harder for me personally to play because I had a hard time getting into a campaign. But I think there's so many things that that it was still made it very relevant. So and I think we can talk about that today and get some ideas going. So one of the first things I think that it needs to do is it needs to stand out. It needs to distinguish itself as being independent from the other games, because on one hand, it's kind of close to the Star Wars RPG, but on the other hand, it's kind of close to Star Wars Legion. And that really boils down to the fact that this core set, while it was great core set at the time because it had a lot of units in it, probably the best value for one box that FFG has ever created was right here. I mean, I'm going to stand by that for a long time, because I've never seen a single $100 box with more game in it than this box right here. There's so much you can do. But a full campaign that you can run multiple different ways. Lots of heroes, lots of villains, lots of minis, tokens for the minis that don't come in here, skirmish cards for everybody. So two completely different games. You have the skirmish game and the campaign. They both play differently, and lots of variety for both options. The whole entire first wave was just other units that already had a token in this set. So you can, as long as you're not playing in any kind of organized play, you can always just use the token or any other miniature as a stand-in for the minis here. Granted, the other expansions come with extra cards on top of that, but this box had it all. It was so much, and it was so many different things, and it's great. But at the same time, it kind of it overshadowed a little bit of the RPG, and it overshadowed a little bit of what Legion eventually came in to fill in. That skirmish style game. So one of the things I think it needs to do is I think it needs to pick one kind of avenue and stick to it. I don't think an Imperial Assault 2.0 needs to really be a skirmish game, because I think Legion kind of has that, and I think Legion is open-ended enough that Legion could also have like a kill team Legion where it's doing like smaller battles, kind of like what Imperial Assault Skirmish has done. I just don't think you need Imperial Assault to try to do that. My personal vote would be for Imperial Assault to be a little bit more like Journeys in Middle-earth, in that it's just running the campaign, whether it's app-driven or player-controlled. I think I would probably push for it to be more app-driven and to have more, more gadgets that technology can offer that other games can't. Now, a lot of people aren't crazy about app-driven games, and I understand that, but that could be this game's niche. The app for Imperial Assault was seen with a lot of success, and I'm sure they can borrow a lot of things from that, but at the same time, I think they could probably take it one step further. I think they've got a lot of lessons learned from other games, and I wouldn't want it to be like an exact copy of something like Journeys in Middle-earth, but I would definitely want it to have a lot of like uniqueness within its own corner, and say, hey, this is Imperial Assault 2.0. It does this, and it's the only game that uses the app this way. And that could be really, really cool. Maybe it has no cards at all. Maybe you do everything through the app. Maybe, so something like that. But I would like for it. I'm not crazy about the idea of having to have one player be like the Imperial player, and then everybody plays against them, because then whoever owns the game ended up having to do that. So when the app came out for Imperial Assault, I thought that was great. So I'd like to see more app stuff. At the same time, I would also like shorter campaigns. Campaigns or micro adventures that you can run, and either maybe if you like, how much time do you have to play? There's nothing wrong with running a campaign, but at the same time, running a full-blown campaign might potentially step on the toes of the RPG, because again, if you've got that much time and you can meet up every week, well, maybe you should just run the Star Wars RPG, and maybe it's stepping on, they have too much overlap. So Imperial Assault might be that big 5-6 player adventure that you have a one shot of. We all sit around with the app, we try to go through map to map to map all in one, or maybe just one bigger map. Maybe it just has big maps, and I'd also like for it not to have, speaking of big maps, for it not to have these little maps that you piece everything together. I despise that. I despise the puzzle piece map building. I would actually love for them to either have a game board, maybe a double-sided game board that are kind of generic-looking game boards, or better yet, something kind of like Zombicide where they have big map tiles, and you just put 4 or 9 pieces together to make your game board, and they're pretty straightforward and clear-cut. You don't have to have all these little puzzle pieces and have spend an hour trying to set up your game board. That infuriated me more than any other part of Imperial Assault. And then so then you had to have all these mats that people would buy a new map every season, and I don't like that. Definitely don't like that. I like to have just a regular game board that doesn't take an hour to set up. So that's something that I think would be great. Another thing is, since we've got the Clone Wars coming out, that'd be a great launch point to make Imperial Assault 2.0 kind of stand out, was if they just launched it as a Clone Wars set, and then and if it fit all of those other things, like if it's maybe a one night long game campaign, or maybe even medium to long game, like maybe through the app you could say, like, how long do we have to play, and scale the campaign, or the big mission based on it. Do we want to do a short campaign, which could be like 45 minutes to an hour and a half, so a short game? Do we want to do and that might just be like a single, grab this prisoner out of the Imperial detention facility, so we run in and get somebody, like a quick extraction? Or do we want to do like a medium length, maybe like a 2 to 2.5 hour game, where it's break down the defenses, and then infiltrate, steal the plans, and then get out. Like actually coming in from outside of a facility? Or do we want to do like a long campaign, or a long adventure, which involves maybe breaking into Darth Vader's castle, and descending through multiple levels, and on a bigger board. And in something like that might take 4 hours or so. So like I think that would be really cool. But the whole idea is that you're going to get kind of that RPG experience in one night, and that could be something great that Imperial Assault 2.0 could potentially do. I would love to see that. If they start with the Clone Wars and it ends up being a success, then bring it back into the Galactic Civil War for like round 2, and then eventually into the sequel trilogy perhaps someday, if they decide to go that route. I think sequel trilogy stuff is certainly viable for a lot of these games. It's just better for a lot of them to wait until at least after episode 9, once we've seen all the core stuff we're going to see from the sequel trilogy. Then we'll have a lot better place for gaming with the sequel trilogy, and I think it'll work out better that way. But so that's basically what I'm thinking. I think an Imperial Assault 2nd Edition could be a great way for them to get away from overlapping and stepping on the the gameplay space that the other games that they have already occupy. I think that could be a great thing. But then again, maybe they're not even doing it at all. But I would love to hear from you guys. What do you think about the possibility of an Imperial Assault 2.0? What are some aspects that you would like to see? We don't actually even have to have all of the discussion down in the comments. If you want to start a longer discussion, then you can also hop in Discord and start talking about it there. You can also check out my website, Crabbok.com. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you click that subscribe button, click the bell for alerts so you don't miss out when new stuff comes out. All of that other stuff. I got links to all my social media stuff on Twitter. Big thanks to my patrons on Patreon as well. And there's links for that if you want to help support this channel. There you can join up through Patreon. And that's about it, guys. I want to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, have a great day.